Hello and welcome to my latest career video. Now, as promised, I would do some career videos on this new channel that I did not cover during the 1890-1910 period on my other channel, and here is one such member, who will be joining the middleweight playlist, and it is the Black Pearl Harris Martin. Now, some people may not be aware, but Harris Martin was a former coloured middleweight champion of the world, and fought in an era where he wasn't given all his opportunities he could have had. Harris Martin was a good puncher, he has a good looking record compared to many, and he was a very strong fighter physically with a good knockout punch, scored lots of knockouts, but generally goes unrecognised by virtually everybody. People like Scrapbook will have mentioned him maybe here or there, like many other fighters he's mentioned who other people never talk about, but I thought it was important to do a video on Harris Martin. So he doesn't have the deepest resume in the world, but like I said, he fought in a period, in the 1890-1910 period where he didn't get all the opportunities he maybe could have got, as well as other factors. So we will go through his career video anyway, starting with his main opponent. So he fought former coloured middleweight champion Joe Butler on one occasion, suffering a defeat. He also lost to former coloured middleweight champion Ed Binney in the one fight they had, as well as losing singular fights to Bobby Dobbs, who is more known from Joe Gann's adversary fame, and of course young Peter Jackson himself. Next up is Jack Burke. Harris Martin fought Jack Burke on one occasion, fighting to a draw, and Harris Martin twice fought Charles Hadley, three times fought Charles Hadley, gaining 2 wins, no loss and 1 draw, so going unbeaten in a trilogy against Hadley. He also gained win over Charles Gleason, before also gaining 2 wins from 2 fights against contender Dick Moore. The final name on here is the heavyweight puncher who gave Jack Johnson lots of difficult problems early in his career, one Hank Griffin, whom Harris Martin lost to. So there's 12 fights highlighted there. Harris Martin won 5 of them, lost 5 and scored 2 draws. Again, he could have had a deeper resume, but there are a whole number of factors that meant he couldn't have one. The era he was fighting in, combined with the colour line and other things. So I always find it really sad when certain fighters don't get all their opportunities, because like Langford, he didn't get all his opportunities, but he still built a Hall of Fame record. But not every fighter who didn't get the opportunities managed to build a Hall of Fame record. It's sad when it happens, but sadly we can't reverse history. So there's Harris Martin's main opponents. When we go on to his stats, we see he scored 40 knockouts, so he knocked out a lot of his opponents. 17 of those knockouts were in 3 rounds or less, and Harris Martin scored 3 first round wins. Now, he scored 0 KOs against champions, Hall of Famers and pound-pounders, and as a pure pre-rating era fighter, he of course scored no knockouts over rated opponents. Now, Harris Martin fought a total of 601 professional career rounds. 63 of those rounds were title fight rounds, and Harris Martin also fought 50 rounds against champions, 0 rounds against Hall of Famers, and 19 rounds against pound-for-pound fighters. Harris Martin of course fought no rounds against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions, being pre-rating era. Now, Harris Martin had 4 fights against champions. He actually scored 0 wins, so he has no win, 4 loss, no draw against champions. Therefore, he defeated no champions individually and scored knockouts over 0 champions individually. And when we go to the Hall of Fame category, Harris Martin had no fights against Hall of Fame fighters, so his record is no win, no loss, no draw, and thus due to that he scored 0 wins over Hall of Famers individually, and he scored knockouts over 0 Hall of Famers individually. So on to the pound-for-pound category. He had 1 fight against a pound-for-pound fighter. That was a defeat. So Harris Martin also defeated no pound-for-pounders individually and scored knockouts over no pound-for-pounders individually. So onwards we go, to the rating slide. Now, Harris Martin, pointed out, pre-rating era fighter, so he has 0s against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters and ring champions, and thus he scored 0 wins over rated opponents and scored knockouts over 0 individual rated fighters. Harris Martin, though, did become a world champion. Okay, he captured the coloured middleweight title. He had 2 title fights, scoring 1 win with 1 loss and no draw. Harris Martin never successfully defended the coloured middleweight title. He did score 1 title fight knockout. Of course, he scored 0 wins against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters and ring champions. And he also scored 0 wins against champions, Hall of Famers or pound for pounders in title fights. So, 1 slide to go for Harris Martin. Not as big a video as others, not as much information on it. You know, some careers, they're all different. Some have lots of information, some have less. You know, it is what it is. But Harris Martin, as said, captured the coloured middleweight title. He was never recognised as lineal champion, of course, not capturing the established titles, any of them. And also is not an undisputed champion. So there is the Black Pearl Harris Martin, a good fighter, strong puncher, physically strong fighter. You know, sadly didn't build the career he may have gone on to build, but certainly was a dangerous fighter in his time if you got in the ring with him. But I'm glad I've been able to cover him. There'll be other fighters I cover on these playlists that don't really get talked about by anyone other than Scrapbook Boxing for the most part. But you know, that's why my channel's here, okay, to shout out as many fighters as I can. So there is the former coloured middleweight champion of the world, Harris Martin, the Black Pearl. I am the Boxing Librarian, and I'm out for now.